Welcome to my Bob Thurman podcast. I'm so grateful some good friends enabled me to present them to you. If you enjoy them and find them useful, please think of becoming a member of Tibet House US to help preserve Tibetan culture. Tibet House is the Dalai Lama's cultural center in America. All best wishes. Have a great day.
This is episode 338, a return to conversation with Chandra Easton.
My beloved
Me too.
Tara, Chandra, and it's so happy. So welcome everybody. Here we are, and we are in West East Coast by the miracle of Zoom, and I am so thrilled to be back again with the beloved embodiment of Tara, Chandra Easton, who should be Western because she's in the West, but she's Eastern. And we're going to go back this, and we could do 17, we could do 21 different podcasts. So just take a break, those of you who are impatient. So she has done this most brilliant work called Embodying Tara, which is her life's work. From birth, I might add, although she would probably not want to claim that. I would claim that on her behalf. And she's doing that work, and she is written this brilliant book where she brings it to life by introducing us to the different forms of the savioress, not protectress, not the savioress. Because these Asian people, why were they so peaceful? Why were they allowed themselves for hundreds of years to be beaten up by the barbarian Europeans in their colonial conquests everywhere? Because they have a Jesus, many Jesuses, female as well as male, telling them to be cool. And so they're not perfect, but at least today, they were more gentle than our European ancestors. And we need to learn about that ourselves because we have no one else to conquer now except ourselves.
That's right.
And she is very good at instructing about that. So, Chandra, how are you today?
Today, I am very good, and I'm so happy to be with you again. I just love you. I love your podcast, your writing, your scholarship. I've been a fan for
Very lazy.
30 years.
I feel badly about not getting any of them done. In fact, I have an excuse. I tell people, well, I am retired, but I'm much too busy ever to get anything done.
Well, lucky for us.
A little bit the case. But I am getting this done by talking to you. And now, what do you want to tell us about today? And everyone should know she has written this beautiful book, and you should rush out and get it. And it's not a book you just read and throw it away. It's something you keep by your bedside. You call on Tara. You think about, you get a poster of one of the sculptures where she saves you from the 8 dangers if you fall on her with faith. I know one lady who was almost in a bus accident where the bus was drifting across into the other lane of the oncoming traffic. And she recited, and she's convinced, this lady, I haven't seen her in years, she subsequently was telling everybody that she went, "Umtari, tutari, swaha," and the bus went shooting back into its proper lane. And she's convinced that Tara did it. And saving you from a bus accident was not in the original sculptures, but it's virtually some of the things that happened. And so I like to think that was correct, and Tara can do that. But then she called on Tara with knowledge and faith. which is
Yeah,
what we're looking at today.
that's
So,
right.
okay, so I just wanted to introduce you a little more. And now, which Tara are we going to look at today? So,
Yes. Yeah, I mean, here we are in the United States. We're in September, early September, and we're approaching this very important election. And so when we were talking about or discussing via email what we might talk about, I suggested that we focus on one of the Taras who is particularly devoted to, focused on justice. I call her the Justice Tara, and her name is Tara Aparajita. Aparajita. She's
Mhm.
the eighth Tara in this 21 Tara pantheon found within the Nyingma tradition. Now, there's some overlap within the Suryagupta or the Atisha lineages sometimes, and other times there are differences. So sometimes people get confused about that in case your audience is wondering. But in the Nyingma, more of the Terma cycle of the elders tradition revealed by Jigme Lingpa,
Mhm.
is the eighth Tara. Her name is Tara Aparajita. And
Mhm.
in Tibetan, it's Drolma Zhenmi Gyalwe Pamo.
Mhm. Mhm. What does
Yeah.
that mean in
And
English? What does that mean? Let me.
right, Zhen Miguel. Good question. Zhen Miguelwe Pamo basically means the heroine who is invincible by other, like is invincible by others. Basically, she cannot be overpowered by others, right? So I
Yeah.
call her the invincible Tara.
We need her.
And
Mm.
yes, yeah, and she really what the praises, the classic hymn to the 21 Taras from the 11th century CE, revealed by Suryagupta, said to be the words of the Buddha coming through him,
Mhm.
praising Tara, the mother, this female
Jigmelingba, can you
saint.
tell us about Jigmelingba? Jigmelingba, he's really interesting. When did he live?
Yeah, he was in the 1700s. I don't recall his exact dates,
Mhm.
but he was in the 1700s. He was really the one of the most, if not, well, one of the most important Dharma or treasure revealers in the Nyingma, this elders tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, really since Longchenpa, Longchen Rabjam, right? So he went into a cave and did 3-year retreat, like is very common in Tibetan Buddhist practice. And he had visions of Longchenpa,
Mhm.
where this great earlier 13th century, I believe 13th, 14th century, um, Dzogchen, great perfection master, came to him and gave him teachings and, in a sense, helped him kind of update and systematize these very profound Dzogchen teachings that perhaps were not so easily practiced or understood or codified. And so Jigme Lingpa,
Mhm.
known for revealing what's called the Longchen Nyingtig, the heart
Mhm.
essence of the vast expanse, a
Mhm.
cycle of teachings which take people from all the way from the Nundro, the classic contemplations of
1,000 frustrations.
okay, we can talk about the prostrations, which always turns people off. I try to avoid talking about the 100,000 prostrations, but
I
although
love,
I
I
had a
love
lot of
that.
benefit from that. um, yeah, and so you have the Nundro, which means the preliminary or that which goes before. So these preliminary practices, which a lot of folks who are into Tibetan Buddhism may have done or thinking about doing, or maybe avoiding doing. um, and of course, you have Vajrasattva and Bodhicitta and taking refuge and contemplating the four thoughts that turn the mind towards the Dharma. All of those classic mind training teachings are found within that. But then he also, in this Longchen Nyingtig cycle of Jigme Lingpa, teaches on Dzogchen, right? Trekche and Togel, the breakthrough and leap over phases of Dzogchen practice and everything in between. And within this cycle that he revealed of the Longchen Nyingtig, heart essence of the vast expanse, treasure that he revealed as a download through his mind from Longchenpa, were what's called the Queen of Great Bliss teachings of the Dechen Gyalmo.
Mhm.
And it's here that the Mother Tara, or the Queen of Great Bliss, which is another form of Yeshe Tsogyo, by the way, manifests
You're talking
as
the
the
wife,
20
the
Tara.
consort of one of the consorts of Padmasambhava. Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you. Right. Right. I can't assume that everybody knows who she is, even though she's like, the most or one of the most famous female teachers, masters,
8th century. Mhm.
yoginis. Yeah. And so she is kind of in an esoteric form, we meditated upon as the Queen of Great Bliss, like a Dakini, right? Sky goer, Kandroma.
Mhm.
And but then from her heart manifests the different 21 taras at different stages. You can meditate on each tara as
Mhm.
you imagine yourself as the Queen of Great Bliss, doing deity yoga, right? The deity practice. You imagine yourself as the Queen of Great Bliss, and then from your heart emanates one of the taras. So, like, we could imagine right now that we are this Dakini, white in color, dancing in space, wild and wise and fearless, right? And that from our heart
Males
chakra,
can do that too, yes. Mhm.
and men can do it too, non binary, gender non conforming.
That's what I'm saying. Without necessarily having an operation, just mentally.
Thank goodness. Let's avoid the hospitals altogether as much as possible. At least I say that because I was just telling Tenzin Thurman about a challenging surgery I just had. So that's why I'm like, let's just stay out of the surgery. Yeah, if we can imagine it, we can. The gender is just more of a social construct or a dualistic construct
Patients,
anyway.
identify yourself imaginatively and respectfully as the queen of bliss space, indivisible, and
Yeah.
then what? You radiate
Then,
heart
and
chakra.
then and then from our heart chakra, the center of your sternum, this kind of potent kind of seat of the soul, you could say, the home base of your Buddha nature, or your essence of essential nature of mind, right? So from that potential infinite capacity that you have within you bursts
Mhm.
from your heart
Mhm.
a thara. So today, if we were doing the eighth thara practice, which we sort of are, right? Because we're talking about the justice thara,
Mhm.
Aparajita, the invincible heroine, we would want to manifest her. And so we'd imagine her a dark red in color, taking form from our heart, shooting out from our heart and taking form in the sky in front and above us. And
Mhm.
then we would recite her, we would sing praises and, make prayers to her and beseech her to help all beings, save all beings from, in particular, her commitment, her theme is to obliterate injustice,
Mhm.
obliterate all forms of injustice
Mhm.
and kind of like confusion, delusion, both inner and outer, that causes injustice.
Mhm.
So whether it's ego clinging, ego fixation, greed, and all the five poisons in Buddhism that we teach,
Mhm.
that talk about in terms of misperception or misknowing. I like how you translate that, Dr. Thurman, rather than ignorance. I was just reading your book on
Yes, yes, indeed.
wisdom is bliss. Yeah, and love how you talk about that. That's one of them, right? So she overcomes that kind of misknowing or misperception of our true nature. She helps heal that. And because it's from that poison or klesha, that mental affliction, that a lot of our other problems come from, right? Greed or violence or territorialism or
Mhm.
injustice.
Mhm.
So we would meditate on her, see her as this, she's fierce too. She's not a peaceful Tara. She's very fierce. Remember, she's invincible by all.
Mhm.
Genmi Galway Pamo.
Mhm.
She's the heroine who is invincible by from or by everyone, whatever the right grammar is. And and then we would recite her mantra and
Mhm.
imagine her enlightened activities emanating out from her from her heart, from her body to all beings, pacifying injustice in all corners, all aspects of the world, places that are going through war, famine, greed, violence, abuse, but also healing internal aspects of misperception and the ways that we suffer. But really, if you're going through like lawsuits or any form of like, legal issues, conflict, aggression, she's your gal. She's your Tara.
Can you lead us to recite the mantra a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. Her mantra, and if you do have the book or you get the book, it would be on page 113. That's the first page of the eighth Tara's chapter. And the Tara mantra here for her is based on the classic 10-syllable Tara mantra, Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Svaha. That's Tara's universal access mantra, I like to say. And you could say that mantra for any of them, by the way. Like if you can't remember a specific Tara mantra, doesn't matter. Go right to the 10-syllable mantra and just imagine her enlightened activities manifesting. Now, having said that, we also have these 21 different mantras for each of the 21 different Taras. And so the eighth Tara mantra is, like all of them, there's a few extra words inserted right before the svaha.
Hold on a second. I'm doing a podcast, sweetie. I'll be there in a minute. I'm not in a minute, in a little while. Okay. Okay, bye.
That's your Tara calling.
Tara.
She's calling in. So in any case, so there are a few words in before the normal svaha 10-syllable mantra to make it a little longer, to highlight her power. So this Tara's mantra is Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Daha Pacha Hong Pat Svaha.
I love the way you say that. And I heard you chanting that on your website, actually. I checked it out.
Yeah.
And you have a good pause between Daha and Pacha when you chant it more slowly, I noticed, which I really liked. I'm just now having a kind of insight about that. Because when you said obliterate the other, in this case, the justice Tara, right? Sometimes justice has to stop crime, stop criminals. And that's the Daha, which means to burn.
That's right.
To consume. But Pacha means to cook.
Yes.
I really like, Pacha, to ripen and to cook. Well, I just thought of this. I didn't think of it. I don't know if you have the same idea. Maybe I'm wrong, but what I think is that the Daha is the obliterating, but then the usual Buddhist thing about dealing with demons, even with bad guys, is to consider them, once stopped in their destructiveness, material to be developed into something good, like fierce protector.
Yeah.
And so Pacha then means you take what's left after burning down the bad behavior, and you ripen it into something worthwhile, like as a using even these often criminals have a lot of initiative to go and rob the bank. They have some courage. They do daring things, although they luckily can get caught, so they're not able to deprive the other people, or take over a country and turn it into a fascist dictatorship like a Hitler type of figure. And so you want to stop that, but then you just don't want to leave it with this. You can't. Buddhists never think you can get rid of anybody.
Yeah.
So therefore, even the bad guy has to be maybe in the next life. Sometimes maybe in the between state. Tara has to pursue and put him back into kindergarten necessary, and pacha, ripen and develop.
That's beautiful.
You never cast away someone totally, So this is like seeing the Russian enemies of the Ukrainians as themselves being liberated by Ukrainians demanding to live freely.
Yes.
It's a brilliant thing that's happening now, that they went in to actually help some Russians in Russian territory who were misled by propaganda into thinking the Ukrainians had done something awful, when meanwhile they're just defending their freedom, right? So
Right.
Dahapacha, I really love that she has Dahapacha. And I also love how you say she's fierce. And I don't like people in the Tibet world who go on about wrathful.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
That means that they really are angry with somebody. Whereas they're just taking the energy away from anger and they're using it to overwhelm someone who is actually hating other people. Do you know what I mean? They're putting that
Yes.
hate back in them to quiet them down. And they're not really angry, but they can show a form that's fierce, hopefully to preempt the angry and the hating ones, the destroying ones, the killing ones, right?
Yes, I love that a couple of things about that. I love that you just use the word overwhelm
Yes.
because this Tara is a red Tara, right? She's red, she's a dark red, which
Yeah.
signifies she's a fierce Padma
Yes.
Tara, right? And the Wangdu is the enlightened activity of Padma. Wangdu means to magnetize, right? But it can also mean to overwhelm, right? Because Wang means power, Du means to gather. So you can kind of like you have the power to gather together. And
Yes.
sometimes I like to say, overwhelm people with your splendor, with your power of love and
Yes.
compassion to obliterate injustice.
Exactly. I love it. Now, another wonderful thing. So that's really wonderful. So, should we meditate with the people who are attending this?
Yes.
Could you get them to think, maybe get them to feel fierce and powerful
Yes.
and sort of dominate a bad situation, not destroy, but dominate and ripen it to something good? Can you,
Yes.
can you lead us just maybe with
Yes.
chanting? We'll think that way.
Yes. Yes.
Myself as
Yes.
a big red, fierce female.
Yes. Let's become her because this is all about embodiment, right? Deity practice and my book is called Embodying Tara, right? So it's all about embodying. So at first, I
Mm.
explained this first step of imagining this Tara in front. We can go right back to that. So, and then we'll take another step into embodiment with the mantra
Look,
recitation.
your book is so good. The people are just going nuts about the wish thing, that thing, The Secret, that book that was so famous,
Yeah.
about how people just have to imagine something they want and then they'll get it.
Yeah.
But they don't give any method. Whereas someone who you are from the Tibetan science of how to cultivate the imagination, make it more really do it, an
Mm.
art of how to imagine in a more effective way. Visualization practice, even if you can also avoid carrying that over where, like, if someone is being abused by an old boyfriend or something, they could in meditation think, send a vibe that I'm not scared and you're this like that, but then they shouldn't run out and say that to the guy because he might beat them.
Yes.
So it's they're working in their own mind, and then that
Yes.
gives them a feeling of strength to be able to sometimes maybe run away instead.
Right. Have the strength to know when to say enough,
Exactly.
and I think that that's also the wisdom of the Padma family is that all discerning wisdom, right?
Right.
Right.
So
So,
actually, your
hey,
book fills in people who love that secret idea, which made people feel a little bit liberated that they could imagine things more positively, and that would bring them positivity. You're actually showing how to actually do it and use an ancient tradition that was highly developed by millions of people for thousands of years.
mm,
I think it really is exciting, I think. But please go ahead. Can you lead us and meditate a little?
yeah, how long do you want to do this? Long or short? You just give me parameters.
Actually, you're the guru here, not me. I'm
What?
just egging you on. You're the guru.
I'm not a guru. You're the guru.
Your book is the guru here.
That is the guru.
All
Okay.
right.
How about our instinct is the guru right now? Okay. Yeah, it won't be too long. Oh, maybe. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so let's close our eyes and take some deep breaths and come home to our belly, the breath in the belly. And this feeling what it's like to be in this body and in this moment with the breath. And we arouse our motivation before any practice, just remembering that that we come to practice to be of benefit in some way, large or small, seen or unseen. That this bodhicitta motivation for practice, this spirit of awakening, this compassionate heart of awakening, bodhicitta motivation. May we help in some way to pacify and incinerate and burn up and then ripen. Burn up the injustice and then ripen the justice within us and the world. And so now let's go right into embodiment. So I've already described her to you a bit. She's this red, but she's more maroon because she has this dark hue, and that signifies this ferocity, but in the most kind of feisty, joyful, compassionate, fierce way. Like Thurman said, not wrathful, but fierce, compassion, commitment. And though this red color is a luminous, like a ruby red. And so let's imagine as we sound one sound, it's a T-A-M, thumb. Her seed, it's like her seed syllable, bija mantra. And as we sound thumb, we will feel our normal body of flesh and bone start to transform from the inside out into this body of Tara Aparajita, a dark red, maroon color, a body of light, of luminosity, sort of hollow like a balloon, vibrating, effervescent light. And I'll guide you through this. So let's just start now with a nice deep inhalation. And if you can, wherever you are, sound out loud with me. And feel yourself now perhaps opening into a more subtle dimension of who you already are, this feeling of a being of light, of Buddha nature manifesting to legs, to arms. With you actually have 7 eyes, 3 eyes, 2 normal eyes, and the third is your wisdom eye, the third eye, gazing into space, awake, flashing like lightning. You can imagine or actually do it with your eyes open. And then the other eyes are on the palms of each hand. So 1 eye on each palm, and then 1 eye on each sole of your feet. These eyes, 7 eyes of Tara, see into all the dimensions, all beings witnessing the suffering, and this commitment to help beings be saved from suffering. And you have this fierce, powerful, compassionate commitment to help obliterate, or you'd say incinerate, and then water the seeds of justice. So incinerate injustice and then ripen justice in the world. And as we recite her mantra, feeling this embodiment as much as possible, really taking our seat, feeling yourself seated on a lotus flower, and atop that is a moon disk. Maybe you feel like you're weightless, as if you were on the moon, a little lighter. And then we'll recite her mantra. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Daha Pacha Hong Pat Svaha. And the Hong and the Pet are, Hong means enlightened mind, And then part means to cut through duality, cut through delusion. So those are seed syllables too. But more important is to feel the vibration of the mantra within you. And as you recite it, imagine that rainbow light, wisdom rainbow light, swirls out from your heart center and starts to move through space and bringing justice, freedom from suffering, freedom from aggression, violence, injustice to all beings everywhere. You can imagine specific places or people or countries, the whole universe and beyond. The sky is the limit and beyond. So we'll recite for a little while together. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. Om tare tu re daha pacha hong part svaha. And so now, with one final blast of rainbow light, imagine that all of Tara Aparajita's enlightened activities, all injustice is completely pacified, obliterated, like rainbow light blanketing the world and beyond, bringing justice and liberation from injustice, but also liberation from delusion, confusion, ignorance, not knowing who we really are. And we all manifest as Taras, rainbow myriad of colors as enlightened beings, filling infinite space.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Let me finish because we've got to bring you home. Okay, and then now the world and its inhabitants dissolve into space, into light. And then that light dissolves into you, your heart, as Tara Aparajita, filling you with bliss. And then you, as Tara Aparajita, dissolve from the crown of your head and the soles of your feet, converging slowly, dissolving into that heart chakra within you. Until then, that space, that orb of light, you could feel an orb of luminous light dissolving into radiant emptiness, and rest in awareness for a few moments. Just rest, unbound, rest in your natural state. This is the ultimate nature of Tara, the great mother, the womb of totality. Bliss, emptiness, awareness, rest. And then now slowly begin to come back, but come back as yourself, but feel as if Tara Parajita were still living within you, like beneath your skin, this red, luminous Tara, enlightened being integrated into every cell of your body. As you come back into the space, you can open your eyes, look around, see the world through the eyes of Tara, move about your day, and even chant that mantra as a way to feel that you're embodying Tara throughout your day. When you feel totally hopeless, when you're reading or looking at the news or in the world, in your family, wherever you are, in your workspace, maybe you could remember this mantra and recite it instead of spiraling down into, the doom scrolling of the mind. Replace it with the mantra, right?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Totally wonderful. Really. Sadhu, sadhu. Really great.
Yeah.
Maybe you can add in another time when you feel your body as hollow, you can feel internal from the gut to the heart center, orgasmic bliss as fueling the rainbow light rays. And don't be shy and bring up the orgasmic bliss.
Yes.
Very important, I think.
Very important.
Doesn't have to be, it can be all internal. It doesn't have to involve a partner necessarily.
Could you talk more about that? Maybe
That's the life
enhance.
energy, in other words. That, of course, that is the life energy.
Yes.
When they say bliss, freedom, indivisible, well, they always say bliss, void, indivisible. So they make it sound like it's just like dark nothing.
Yeah.
But actually, this openness is freedom. Freedom is a similar negation to emptiness or voidness. It means it's free of any kind of constriction, any kind of thing. And so the basic openness of the human life form, the basic openness of every cell in everybody's body, which makes the microbiome, the 23,000 different billion different beings who have different genes than human beings that occupy the microbiome, that relate to the brain, that are like the gut brain. It connects to the brain and releases all the hormones of positive internal energies, and they all function well because they like each other. They're actual beings that sort of all link up and hook up together. And this is a great thing about your Nyingma tradition, which I also love. And I am ordained as a, by the way, I'm very happy. I was ordained as a, oh no, what does he call it?
Nakba. I
What?
saw that. Nakba.
Dr. Nida, and he has a group of, with the red and white robe, and I got all the equipment.
I
And
saw that. Congratulations.
in California, I was ordained as a, what does he call them?
Nakba.
Yeah,
Nakba.
That's right, Nakbar, a Nakmang, and the Nakmang, that's right. I'm sorry, I'm gets old and I can't remember words when I want them.
Yeah, I know you know
Any
them.
name I can't remember.
No,
Yeah, I
I
am.
know you know. I saw that. I'm so happy. Was so
Jigme Lingpa,
happy.
by the way, Jigme Lingpa, I located him and played it. He was a close practicing colleague of the fifth Dalai Lama.
Was
A little
he?
bit his student, actually, because fifth Dalai Lama was older. And your
Okay.
fifth Dalai Lama was total Nyingma oriented, which is why
Sure.
certain weirdos were annoyed about him,
Right. It's too
uh,
bad. Yeah.
Shukden weirdos.
Oh gosh. Yeah. No.
He loved the Nyingma thing. And then he built for him the Mindra Ling, fifth Dalai Lama did. He made huge donation from government.
That's
Also the
right.
Dakten monastery, the retreat place, those two monasteries, because he wanted the Dzogchen people to have more monastic backing, because that was the way you had a kind of support in the lay family couldn't match the monastic backing. So Fifth Dalai Lama wanted them to have also that kind of seat, those guys, although they were often lay people, but he
Yeah.
wanted some preliminary ones to do that. And then the reason that he is a figure in the novel that I'm about to release with my dear friend Annie Bien,
No.
the poetical writer, and on the sixth Dalai Lama, he was teacher of sixth Dalai Lama,
Really?
who refused to be a monk, who wanted to be a lay ngakpa, who
Yeah.
was a lay ngakpa, and also of Desi Sangigatso, the who discovered the sixth and who was kind of weird. He was kind of like a spiritual son of the fifth. He was like spiritual father of the sixth, and he shared with the sixth his love of the Nyingma thing also. And the whole different, coming down from the monastic palace of the Potala, going around Lhasa and having some fun.
Yes.
And then this relates to, the Zog word in Tibetan, which means to complete.
Zok. Yeah.
Yeah, people translate as perfection. And
Yeah.
too many Westerners think it means you're complete is to just take off in space.
Right.
But actually, it doesn't translate nishpana or sampana in Sanskrit, anything that means to complete, or sampat, which means a perfection. It doesn't translate that. It translates mahasandhi. And
Yeah.
sandhi means connection.
Yes.
The connection. So
Yes.
when you go in that central, tiny little drop of pure, indestructible drop which merges with clear light, which is the great pointing out that is the key heart thing of the Dzogchen. What happens instead of going into the microcosm and through the microcosm, you go into connecting with all life,
That's right. That's right.
being a blessing to it all and feeling its blessing, since
Yeah.
our life itself is a blessing.
Yes.
We are a product. We produce and we are the product of blessing. All of us. Blessing. Blessing. Blessing and
Blessing. Oh, did you just make that up on the
blessing.
spot?
Blessing and blessing.
My bliss-
So that's
blessing.
all. So that's I mean, we want to make when you chant that meditation is so powerful. I suddenly realized that, you could do a course. If you don't want to do it yourself, we'll do it on Menla. We could do 18 different conversations, 21 different conversations on each one of these, with you chanting and leading and doing that rainbow light. I think it's beautiful, but it's okay.
Let's do it. Oh,
I saw you doing on your website. I think you were doing Pat,
with the
and I
melody.
do Pat, by the way,
Huh?
because Tibetans they go Pe.
Pay. Yeah. Which
This
is
thing of
fine.
not Tibetans from Lhasa dialect.
Yeah.
Amdons don't do that. And
Oh,
Eastern Tibetans and Ladakis don't. But Lhasa dialect, they kind of don't bother with the final consonant, pat. They just go pe when they see a da at the end or da, they go pe. And And pay is okay too, but the
Yeah.
put, and especially a retroflex T, which involves a curling the tongue, put,
Heart.
kind of implosive as well as explosive, put. It has that sound, And I love that you do that. I think that's a little bit breaking from not following exactly Tibetan pronunciation, going
Yes.
back to
Yep.
Indian pronunciation, put, you know.
Heart.
Like,
I asked Khenpo
Ida
Tsewang
does that.
Dungyal. He
Ida
said
does
when
that. He's the Amdo. The Amdo people further away from Lhasa, and Ladakh in the other direction, they sort of pronounce all the letters, more. And that's why
yeah.
I think they're real hillbillies. They're Hicks. Lhasa people. Anyway, that's one of now another thing before I just want to lose. So another thing is that this wonderful aparajita, aparajita,
Ah.
it's a long R because female. And so you have a beautiful thing under each Tara where you honor the fact that 21 Taras are only standing in for 21 million Taras all over the whole planet.
Yeah, I
And,
don't give the number, but oh yeah, it's in the meditation, you mean?
well, in
Or in the
general,
book?
in other words, the
Infinite.
Tibetan Buddhist vision that that the life energy is connected with enlightening savior beings. It's like there
Yes.
was one little poop in one little place who sort of helped a few people and then everybody else got trampled. It isn't at all like that. It's
Yeah.
like they're like everywhere. So you honored that by under each Tara of the famous 21, you found some living beings, recently living and currently still living.
Yeah.
These two happen to be recently living,
Yeah.
very recently, but I think you should tell us about that. And in each one, you have all Nobel Prize winner females, and
Yeah.
showing, because this is what we have to do, we chauvinist males, we have to realize that we would have destroyed ourselves and the whole planet a long time ago. Females. They are preserving it and keeping it going. And as Hillary kind of sometimes a little grumpily but generously says, like a good Wellesley Girl Scout that she is,
Yeah.
she says cleaning up their messes. Having to clean up their messes. And she knows very well about that because she has Bill mess to clean up all the time. She's and she has done so. And
Yeah.
my point is, it's
Mm.
just the idea that there are many beings, and we can find Tara in every woman, which should be a vow of the male chauvinist to do so.
Yeah.
And so tell us about who are your Aparajita candidates?
Well, there's so many, and well, the candidate. We have the candidate.
Ones in the book first, maybe.
Okay, the ones in the book first. I mean, and I just want to preface this by, we went to print, and so the tatas that I chose, the real life women or gender nonconforming, transgender women I chose to be in the book. Of course, it's frozen in time because the book had to go to print, but it's ever evolving. And I'm always asking my students and people to say, send me in new suggestions for people, even if it's your grandmother, like they don't all have to be Nobel Prize winners. I also want to get out of that mindset of it having to be some extraordinary person who we will never be, because it's also about embodiment. Like, how can I be her? Like it's
an extraordinary person.
hmm.
Mark Epstein, I'll never forget, my famous friend, the famous psychiatrist and Buddhist shrink.
Yeah, he's great.
He had an epiphany one day about his own wife, who is a well-known sculptress, but it wasn't because of that. But he realized that she was a miracle worker because, when they, as a family, and then when he realized that she could turn tuna fish sandwiches into a beautiful baby.
Yes.
Like, who can do that?
Yes.
That's extraordinary. Who can do that?
We know body
It's
offering.
not some genes. It's not some, Watson and Crick are not sitting there sending out genes to do that. Richard Dawkins is not sending out a selfish gene to go do that.
Yeah.
Every woman is doing that who does that, and ones who don't do that can do it in other ways.
Yeah. Yes, yes, absolutely. 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 Yeah. And even, all of us can be Tara, as you said earlier on the call. It's like
So
it's
you
this is
are.
not just for women. This is,
Somebody
I honestly see
Chandra Easton Pacha Daha Pacha Basmi Kuru. I don't know. Daha Basmi Kuru. So that's a little even more fierce one. Basmi Kuru. Anyway, that's
what does that mean?
Daha Basmi Kuru. To turn
Basmikura.
weaknesses to ashes.
To ashes, right. Incinerate.
Basmi
That's why. Yeah.
healing. But that's a healing
Right.
thing, burning up the pain. That's
Okay.
what
Yeah.
you are.
Okay.
You are certainly.
I want that one.
Why not? That's the whole point, you know, is that
Yes.
women are bullied into being lesser unless they do something that men think is extraordinary. But actually, every single one of them is extraordinary.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I had a student who we were learning about chud and the body offering. She was asking, what does this mean? Or even the mandala offering from the chud or severance tradition is more of like, the wandering yogin tradition. So they don't have a lot of jewels and gems to offer in a kind of traditional mandala offering ceremony. So we imagine our body as a sacred mandala, and the two eyes are the sun and the moon, and the arms are the four continents, and the spine is the Mount Meru, and all of this, right? So it's like, and she said, and she's sort of newer to this concept, an old yogi and teacher and experienced practitioner, but she said, because we are talking about the body offering and what that meant to offer your body as nectar to feed all beings. Yeah, as the ultimate generosity. And she said, but isn't it,
See
didn't
who
don't we kind of do that when we grow a baby and we nurse a baby? And I said, yes, that's another way of understanding the body offering and
you
generosity.
there. I was thinking of my breasts because I was visualizing myself as a big, hefty, red, fierce-looking female. And I was realizing that that sort of ecstasy of nursing comes
Yeah.
from inner orgasmic energy in the
Yes.
body, expressed that way. Why
Yeah.
males are so jealous of women nursing, actually. They get terribly jealous, because they
Yeah.
want it.
They want it,
They
and
want,
there's this
want that kind
cloistering that the
of
baby gets. Yeah.
right, but actually that means that every cell in the female body is able to give itself in that way. So that makes them all complete miracle. And Tara reveals that, I think.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm an ignorant chauvinist male. Don't believe I'm not.
You're not chauvinist.
Oh,
I
my
mean,
Nma,
I don't know what Nana would say, but you don't seem chauvinist.
she would never pretend to let me pretend to be fully healed and cured of the chauvinism. It's harder to do, but I try, and I envision it. So please tell us about Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Well, we all know about her, but she really committed her whole life, most of her life, to justice, right? She, especially gender justice and civil liberties. So I really thought she could be a great example of somebody
Nice.
who
I myself,
embodies this real life justice data.
I want her to haunt those other people, those men in that place who are
Yeah.
ruining the Supreme Court with their
Yeah.
parliament and their weird projections. I
Yeah.
think we have to ask Ruth to postpone her reincarnation in some heaven that she deserves to stay as a ghost and haunt them. And maybe do they have any conscience left about their absolute irrational nonsense?
Oh, I know. It's really tragic
Talking
is what's
Roberts
going
too.
on.
I'm not just talking the Trump ones. I'm talking Roberts.
Yeah.
Fake stopping people voting, refusing to
Yeah.
honor the Civil Rights Act of 1965 and gutting it so that they can block voting, which is what they're trying to do now. They've given up trying to win those other people.
Exactly. This is so important. This is why I want everybody to focus on Justice Tara. If they're into Tara practice and Buddhism and like doing mantra and prayer,
Yes.
supplement your activism with some eighth Tara mantra, please, because talk about voting rights, not just gender justice, of course, gender justice, civil rights, all of this, but right now, voting rights And then also people supporting people who are working for justice. Like, I mean, when I was looking at watching Michelle Obama give her speech at the DNC, for example, holy cow. And we know she's amazing. And then Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris,
Kamala Devi. How
Kamala Devi. Kamala, which means lotus, by the way. And I was just looking up more about the taras and their different meanings. And, there's a lot of overlap with the Hindu tantric goddess worship, or, Hinduism and Buddhist tantric practices. And so the sixth Tara, who's related to the eighth, they're all about justice and they're fierce and they're red. They're like sisters. And the sixth Tara's name is Maha Bhairava, right? And so Maha Bhairava, or you could say Bhairavi, it's just same to indicate the feminine gender, right? So she's the great fierce one. I call her the awe-inspiring one because she
Mhm.
inspires awe, not terror, not like horror, but like awe. And so the Maha Bhairava is the fifth of what are called the 10 Mahavidyas in the Hindu tradition. And
Mhm.
so here's an overlap of a Tara.
Mhm.
I'm going back to the sixth Tara, by the way. You're gonna have to get the book and read Tara's chapter 6.
Right?
She is also associated with the Hindu goddess Bhairavi, who's
Mhm.
the fifth of the Mahavidyas, the great mothers, the great 10 great mothers within the Hindu tradition.
Mhm.
Fast forward to the 10th of the mothers in the Mahavidya tradition of Hinduism, and you have her name is Kamala. And I didn't even know that. So I've told Tenzin La that I wanted to bring this up, that the 10th Mahavidya within the Hindu tradition, her name is Kamala. And she is associated with the fierce
Mhm.
aspect of Lakshmi, who's about abundance, auspiciousness. And
Mhm.
so there's so many reasons why Kamala is here right now for a reason. I really feel like the United States, we need this kind of Shakti. We need this kind of
Oh,
energy funneling through. Now, whether or not Kamala is perfect or not, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like some kind of wisdom stream coming
oh,
from Mother India. Medicine nectar is coming through in some way, seen and unseen.
Joe Biden just yesterday in Philadelphia or wherever, somewhere in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, he said best thing he did all 4 years as a president was choosing Kamala Harris as his vice president. That was the best decision he made because he
That's great.
he made some that were not so good, of course, but he did basically good work. But he did a lot that were a few that were not quite right. But the point is, he did the best he could. But that was his best decision, he said. I think that's
I
true.
love that.
I mean, look at Justice Ginsburg. She
Yeah.
was really strongly pushing the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment for Women, which then
Yeah.
they didn't pass. They
Yeah.
hired some jerk woman to
Yeah.
pretend to ruin the kitchen, and it would ruin women and blah blah. And because they didn't want to pay the salaries, so
Yeah.
the wealthy billionaires, and they didn't want to pay the women who do such essential work. They didn't want to get paid for it, which they should, of course, you know. And so it still failed, even though she did all that great work as a Supreme Court justice. And now we have the chance to finish the job.
Yes.
Finally have the chance. And I've been noticing some really nice things on the tube where they put in Geraldine Ferraro, and then they show Hillary, and now they show Kamala, and now we're going to have landslide, because the males have gone so wacky with their other weird demonic crap that they're doing. It's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
I mean, they're not even trying to please anybody, to do
No.
anything for anybody. And what she said is so beautiful. Did you hear her yesterday? She said,
Mm.
leadership has been defined as strong by how much you can beat other people down.
Yeah.
The bully that gives the pain to people, bullying, that the women experience from childhood.
Yeah.
And she says, now we should define leadership as how you can lift them up. That's the strength of leadership. How you can lift
Yes.
other people up. That's
Yes.
the pacha side of the daha pacha,
I love it.
ripening, the cooking, Watch them
Yes.
cook, actually, making something
Yes.
delicious out of even a bad guy
Yeah.
after re-educate.
We're gonna eat it and eat them and turn them into nectar.
Well,
Right? We're
if
gonna
it's
transform the
like
poison
the
into
only way,
medicine.
that's the only way, of course, But
Yeah.
usually not necessarily like Mahakala and these kind of beings, they keep them, they hold them steady, keep them alive, and then help them to understand what's better for themselves, even, which is
Yeah.
never to be hateful and destructive and beat other beings down, because that makes them more and more miserable always. That's beating themselves down. People can learn that, actually.
Absolutely.
They can. But sometimes you have to restrain them so that they don't kill the teacher before they do, which is a little bit of a concern.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes. So you have her. I love that. And then which ones do you have for the sixth one for the?
Oh,
For,
well, okay, so I love them all in different ways, but the sixth really love because,
El Sadawi. That's right.
yeah,
I
do
love
you know
that
who she is?
about her. But
Not
she
many.
really moved me
Yeah.
because of that awful thing that they do over there. That FG.
Female genital mutilation.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the sixth Tara, the great awe-inspiring Tara. So she's also like the eighth. She's dark red, fierce. Her name in Sanskrit is Tara Maha Bhairava. Her Tibetan name is Droma Jigje Chenmo,
Mhm.
the great fierce one, or for terrifying one. But I like awe-inspiring because you see why I'm trying to go with that. It's more of a positive slant rather than like totally fearful. Because sometimes people are like, "Oh, these fierce deities, I can't handle it
Oh, you
anymore."
can't.
I'm like, but how can we embody that that
Sublime.
sharp
The word
wisdom,
sublime. The word sublime. With
sublime,
what would be terrifying if you're very, very egotistical. But if
right?
you're able to open a little bit to something fierce seeming, then it actually breaks you through your own blocks, and you can gain bliss from that. So that's where where terror turns into bliss. But it needs to confront terror to get there. And that sort of thing. That's the word sublime. It's like that. Which
I love the word sublime.
thing that could frighten someone who's very, very tight and egotistical. Sublime, maybe.
Right,
But
right. Okay,
that was
so
sublime. Oh, that was sublime. But I like it was a cup of tea. But sublime is specially reserved in aesthetics for what could be grisly, but then you can be exalted by if you open.
right, yeah. Yeah, so her superpower, I like to say, her enlightened activity is to destroy all negativity, particularly negativity born of confusion, misperception,
Mhm.
memory loss, amnesia, and mental illness.
Mhm.
So I thought this was really interesting. Lama Tsultrim, when I was talking to her about this one, she turns to me, she's like, "Isn't it great we have a Tara for amnesia, for like memory loss as we get older?" I was like, "Yeah, it's so great." But as I was trying to find the real life Tara, I thought, oh, I don't want to just focus on that. Like what can I find? And when I was reading about Nawal el-Sadawi, this wonderful Egyptian humanitarian psychiatrist. Remember, mental illness was one of her
Yeah.
healing of superpowers, right? So when I found her, I was so intrigued and inspired by her. I couldn't get enough of her. I highly recommend people read about her, read her books, her plays, and read her short biography in my book too to get you started. Because this Tara, let me set it up a little bit. It'll make more sense why I chose her.
Mhm.
So this Tara, as I said, she helps to destroy or heal, we could say, confusion, memory loss, misperception, amnesia, mental illness. And then let's look at her symbol, which is on the next page, 94, if you've got the book. It's her ritual dagger, which is called a purba in Tibetan or kila in Sanskrit. And it has a lot of meanings. It's a ritual dagger, which helps to like stake down ceremonial sites to kind of stake down negative energies so that we can go deep within our shamanic journey, right? And no negativity will come in and disrupt our healing process. But it also sometimes is associated with like the world tree. a colossal tree that connects the heavens to the terrestrial world and the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this sense, Tara Mahabhairava uses her ritual dagger to connect heaven and earth, to stake down the wisdom of all the
That's the
ages.
word, it's actually more than a dagger, it's actually a stake.
It's a stake, yeah, used from the
Like,
nomadic, right?
mostly the vampire slayer is manifesting the Mahabhairava, right? Which is stake through the heart of the vampire, the person who
Yes.
consumes
Yeah.
the life force.
I love that. That's a great, I love the pop culture associations here. It's so helpful. So when I
The
was,
wisdom pops up from everywhere if you look for it.
it really does because it's in these old cultural stories. Yeah. And
Mhm.
so when I found Nawal El Sadawi, her weapon, this wonderful Egyptian feminist, humanitarian, writer, educator, psychiatrist who was born in 1931. She died in 2021.
Mhm.
Her weapon, quote unquote, was the mighty pen. And the
Mm, of
pen, what
course.
does it remind you of? It
Yes.
looks kind of like this purba, this ritual dagger. And
Yeah.
with her pen, with her writing, she's staking down ancient memories of when women were not subjugated, right? 5,000 years plus ago, perhaps, especially in Egypt when women had elevated status, were not owned by men like chattel and so on.
Yes.
So she wrote about that, and so she brought the unmanifest or the old memories down from heaven back down to earth with her ritual dagger of the pen and wrote it down. And so she wrote books, plays, but she did so much more than that. Let me read a little bit from this. Um, she embodies the fierce fire of Tara Mahabhairava with her commitment to exposing and healing the negativity born of delusion, amnesia, and mental illness, particularly seeking to heal the psychological imbalances that result from oppression and abuse.
Mhm.
Dr. Sadawi has published extensively on issues faced by women in Egypt, refusing to shy away from the controversial topics of prostitution, domestic violence, female genital mutilation, FGM, and
Mhm.
religious fundamentalism. Sadawi asks all of us to overcome oppression by seeing and naming it. So, in
Mhm.
that way, she's overcoming sort of like the forgetting of the beauty way,
Mhm.
Kodo would say. There
Mhm.
are ways of beauty, there are ways of being in the world that are not combative and patriarchal and dominating. And so she sought to bring that into our collective
Mhm.
present day memory.
Mhm.
And there's a lot there. So you can see how I tried to, in a sense, kind of get creative about how I found these modern day real life. Now, they're not all modern, but a lot of the women in my book are modern, but really real life women who embody certain qualities of the Tara so that it helps us to see how they exist maybe around us and through different people, but also can exist within ourselves, like how can I write down my dreams and bring them into being? How can I help kind of remember my family history, right? Can we remember the names of our grandparents or parents or grandparents? Like w- how much of our own kind of familial but also historical memory can we maintain so that we don't forget
Mhm.
wisdom and the gifts that have been given from the past and the ancestors. So that gives you a sense of that. But I thought it was so interesting how Mahabhairava, this Tara 6, is
Mhm.
also linked with Kamala, the 10th Mahavidya. Is she so much, which means, lotus, Lakshmi. So Padma, she's the Padma family,
My son
Devi coming into our world.
My son Jonathan at Tibet House, he has a slogan that we hope to make in a t-shirt somebody's going to. Lotus for POTUS.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that. I think that's
Good,
great.
but it would be good
Too.
to have the purba in the middle of the lotus. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
should. You
But
should.
the symbol for the eighth Tara, the literal justice Tara, is the Vajra, actually, which is interesting.
Well, the Purva has a Vajra on top of it. It is a
Well,
Vajra.
there you go. Two for one.
And then there's a little Hayagriva head on top of the Vajra sometimes also.
Yes, right.
There's a little Hayagriva head who is Padmasambhava. You know, the root mantra of Hayagriva is Padmasambhava. I don't know if you know. In
Oh, I
Greek,
didn't know that.
in
I
Greek,
didn't know.
it is the source mantra, you know, the root mantra of Hayagriva.
Do you know what's
Oh, it's
interesting?
wonderful.
Yeah. Are we at time?
I don't, well, yeah, I think approximately must be. I think it's been about, I forgot when, I don't know, I was,
Been like an hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes.
yeah,
So
that's what we should usually do. We
yeah.
should, said we should do another one
Yeah.
eventually soon, with a different one. But can we do the Kamala thing and just at the end close with the Kamala thing because of the context? Can we meditate that we envision Kamala Devi and we don't believe all these down-putting polls and the media who are doing their false equivalencies and
Mm.
refuse to recognize a criminal versus a prosecutor. And they act like, oh, maybe he really did, he lost the election, he was already elected. It's a whole criminal pretense that's going on, which is why they justified in trying to block the vote because they have given up trying to win it, actually,
Yep.
because they know it's based on a lie that he was elected last time, which he wasn't. And he's raised all the money and therefore he's only pretending to run for office, and he will simply make a rebellion if should the actual numbers come out against him. He's so confident, you follow. And
I
so
do. It's
justice
scary.
has to really be deployed now. We have to be ready to deploy it against the sort of biggest possible national crime that is being definitely planned for.
Yep.
It's not like just, oh, maybe they might get emotional and do something. No, they're planning for it. There's no doubt of it. It's becoming out more and more clearly that that's the case. So could we think about, and the other day I was looking at her talking and laughing and how thrilled she is. Her energy is a joyful energy, actually,
It is.
really joyful. And then I made some people mad, and I hope feminists won't be mad, but I could see her face on Mount Rushmore, actually. It is a very square face, it's a long face.
Hmm.
Looks very strong. It's a very strong face, It's
Yeah.
not like a little like chirpy thing. It's a strong face, Beautiful, of course, but very, very strong. And then somebody
Yeah.
said, oh, they would never put another person. And then, well, she's part Indian. I defined myself. I'm a kind of Indian. And,
Wrong
and
Indian.
point is that there is a priest in Tamil Nadu and her grandparents' village,
Mm.
and they're making prayers there. Although they say we're not going to make a big fuss, because they
Yeah.
won't make a big fuss about us because she's also representing the blacks, from Jamaica, who are
Yeah.
from Africa, that lineage.
Yeah.
So that ours is the minor contribution, but we're still praying, and it had big poster, giant, like a road poster, of her as
Love
vice
that.
president. They already had that up, and the
Of
president
course.
was doing day and night pujas in this little small village. I don't know if you saw that. It's the
I did. I love it. I
national
was wondering.
media is not making a big fuss about it, which they should. And the thing is that we should make a fuss. We
Hmm.
should channel this Tara, Justice Tara,
Yeah.
backed up by Vairavi Tara, ready
Yeah.
to go in case the other ones get out of hand,
Yeah.
with the stake, putting the stake in that. The vampires really get out of hand when they lose, because they're going to lose by a landslide. And the landslide will be good because the landslide gives a margin where they really would have to do naked violence only,
Yeah. Yeah.
even fake law cases and things like they've been doing. So I'm just saying the joyful, think about it, joyful ferocity
Yes.
by the women of this nation,
Yeah.
united behind Kamala, and they're finding their own Kamala, finding
Yeah.
their own Tara,
Yeah.
their own Aparajita Katara, Baha. Daha Pacha,
Daha Pacha.
Pat Swaha, and
Yes.
the Om Tari Tu Tari Turi, Daha Pacha, Pat Swaha, and learn that mantra and say it a lot.
Yeah.
And speak up in the coffee shops, and speak up at the traffic at the bus stop, and speak up bravely, and I think we'll see the landslide. What do you think?
I think so too. And I wanted just to say that a lot of people have a hard time memorizing or learning these mantras. So we've with Nina Rao, who you know and love, I know, and Genevieve Walker, we've written melodies for all these 21 Tara mantras.
Oh,
And there's a melody for this Tara 8 mantra. I've gave it to you. Maybe we can post it on the notes of this podcast.
one
So it
thing,
helps people learn them with the melody,
yes,
right? Like kirtan. And
and
so
also
check it
after
out.
once she's elected, and once we get past the little bit of a mini revolution they're going to try, we then will still be more obstacles, and we'll need to keep behind Justice Tara until we get ERA ratified. We clean up the Supreme Court mess. We
Yep.
get the money out of the elections. There's a lot of work to do.
Abortion
John
rights.
Lewis Voting Act again, et cetera. And
Yes.
so this should all continue. So what I was going to propose, and anyway, let's dedicate to merit, and then I want to propose. So don't sign off, but let's dedicate to merit. Let's close this. We're going to do more of these, and I wanted to
Good.
propose something to do
Okay.
that even after November.
Yes.
This is, may we dedicate the merit to all beings becoming equal to Taras,
Mhm.
already saved and saving others, saving themselves and others. And that's where we're going to put the merit of this little podcast that we did together.
Mhm.
If that suits you, if you want to chant something or say
Oh,
something
I love it. No, perfect.
for dedication, another one.
It's perfect. May it
Okay.
be so. La 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 ho.
Ding.
The Bob Thurman podcast is produced through a Creative Commons No Derivatives license. Please be sure to like, share, and repost on your favorite social media platforms. And is brought to you in part through the generous support of the Tibet House US Menla membership community and listeners like you. To learn more about the benefits of Tibet House membership, please visit our websites at thus.org, menla.org, and bobthurman.com. Tashi Delek, and thanks for tuning in.